December 6, 2021 36. What is music like in 2036? Most of the same music you enjoy is available on archive. However, the days of megastars playing multiple track studio-produced music and lip-syncing on a huge stage are pretty much isolated to your time period. Like everything else, music is much less centralized. The general trend is away from computer-generated music and more toward real people playing real instruments. Music is much more of a personal experience. More people know how to read music and play together in small groups. What are the social prejudices in 2036? Yes, there are. However, as odd as it may sound, it serves a useful purpose in my time. First, you must realize that your experiences with prejudice and mine are different. I would characterize the intolerance you have here as a result of ignorance and fear. I have observed that people with unfounded and irrational fears about their fellow man in this time have the luxury of not having their beliefs tested. After the war, much of the prejudice you have now was swept away by simple necessity. People had to work and fight together just to survive. This has a way of opening a person's eyes as to the value of fellow human beings. What difference does the color of a man's skin make when you are both fighting against the same enemy to survive or find water or grow food on my world line? If a man doesn't pull his weight in the community, then we feel prejudice towards him as a burden to us. This feeling of shame he experiences then makes him realize his responsibilities. What is a healthcare like in 2036? You would probably not like it at all. I would compare it to what you see in Western movies. We do have hospitals, but there are more family doctors and house calls as compared to what you are used to. There is no real organized healthcare. If you get a serious disease, you die. This, however, has had a tendency to strengthen the general genetic pool. Doctors are more concerned about things like broken legs, snake bites, and delivering healthy babies. What is the entertainment industry like in 2036? Again, entertainment is less centralized. There are movies and TV, but everything is distributed over the net, and more people produce their own shows. What's it like to start from nothing and work your way up in 2036? Very easy. If you can work with your hands and get along with other people, you will always find work. Could you travel in time to escape your original world line? Would you be looked down on for that? From a physical standpoint, I suppose that would work if you were trying to escape a natural disaster. But you must consider that trying to escape by time traveling has its own problems. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by being looked down on. Is there some sort of new world government in place by 2011? On my world line in 2011, the United States is in the middle of a civil war that has dramatic effects on most of the other Western governments. Earlier you said something was wrong with the Unix computer code on your world line. What's wrong with it? Yes. And with yours too. I have to believe there must be a Unix expert out there someplace that can confirm that. I'm not exactly sure what the technical issue is, but I believe some sort of Unix system registry stops in 2038. Does the continuing conflict between Arabs and Jews have anything to do with the upcoming war? Yes. When you first started posting online, did anyone believe you? I don't know if anyone believes me now. But you must realize that I don't expect anyone to believe me, or does it affect me one way or the other? I enjoy these conversations too. What would you expect a time traveler to say or do in your time? How does the singularity stay cool in your time machine? Very highly technical, cooling stuff. Sorry, I don't get much of a chance to be a wise guy. How far have computers and software progressed in 2036? Good question. I would say the biggest difference is in the reliability of the hardware and software. It absolutely amazes me how willing people are here to accept computer and software failures on such a regular basis. I was very surprised to see how prolific it is. You can look forward to very stringent manufacturing parameters and programming discipline. Think back to the early days of the computer and how much work and cleverness it took to fit those programs into such small areas of memory. Has more and cheaper memory brought better programs or just more programs? As far as technical specifics, I'm afraid I cannot go into too much detail. However, I will tell you that processor speed and memory size take dramatic leaps forward. The question involved very complicated physics with magnetic fields, faster than light travel and ions. I'm afraid my notebook on Maxwell's equations isn't with me, and I must say again that I am not a physicist. As far as tachyons goes, it's my understanding that they cannot exist at all unless they are created and traveling faster than light. As far as time travel goes, I'm afraid tachyons are merely useful for describing various quirky effects of strange matter. I will post again as soon as I get a chance. December 10th, 2011 o'clock. I will try to answer all of your questions. However, I have noticed that there seems to be a difficulty in entering a conversation in the middle. Most of the following questions I have answered at length in previous posts. I understand how important it is to have these answers when new people read portions of the posting, but I find it tiring to keep repeating myself. Any suggestions would be appreciated. Who won the Super Bowl in 2001? I do not answer questions like this. Although I don't really know the motivation for the question. I can guess. If a time traveler had knowledge of your future, and you could only ask one question, would this be it? Besides, can you tell me if it rains in New York on June 4, 1932? You are from their future, so should you know that? The question involved how the time machine could travel to Earth in the future or past, since the position of the planet would change in space. The question also asked about life support during travel and how physical structures are avoided. This is actually a very good question that parts and pieces of the answer are scattered around in previous postings. I am often surprised that it is not the first one asked. You are correct. This problem is actually the most difficult part of time travel. Although some of your assumptions about matter displacement are a bit off, the problem is real. Inside the displacement unit are a series of very sensitive clocks and gravity sensors. This system is called the VGL variable gravity lock. In simple terms, before the unit leaves a world line, it takes a base reading of the local gravity and adjusts the Titor sinusoid to lock into that position. Although the temporal physics of this statement are wrong, in effect, it holds you to the Earth. During travel, it periodically checks to see that the field has not varied. If it does, it stops and reverses course or drops out at that point. Buildings and other terrain features are avoided in the same way. Yes, we do bring oxygen in the vehicle with us, but we do not lose atmospheric pressure. If the time machine was used for a split second and then returned, wouldn't it appear someplace in far-off space as the Earth continued in space? Please see VGL system above. Also, please be aware that from the viewpoint of the time traveler, the displacement unit actually left and then returned. The viewer does not experience this. Think of it as a GOSIB statement in a computer program. December 10th, 2011 32. What type of money do you use in 2036? It's not very different than it is now. Yes, we have money and credit cards. However, like everything else, the monetary system is decentralized. Banking is based mostly around the community structure. There are no multinational banking or computerized economic systems. There are also no income taxes. Are radio location systems still used on livestock? Some of the larger farm communities use electronic markers and fences. I am not a farmer, so I don't have very many details about that. Is the GPS system still in use in 2036? Oh yes. In fact, the unit I have with me works here. I'm not sure why that surprises me. There are also a great many communications and internet satellite systems. Do you still have an American flag? What does it look like in 2036? Yes, we still have the flag. There is a debate about changing it from 50 stars to 5. Do any of the states have new names? Not that I can think of. No major cities anyway. I am aware that some smaller towns changed their names after the war, and most universities have the word fort before them on my world line. How much training is required before you can time travel? Can you make any repairs to your time machine? I started training on the recommendation of my PS officer when I got out of school in 34. I graduated in March of 35. Actual hands-on training started soon after that, and I left 2036 in April. No, there are not very many repairs I can make to the unit. The unit is built very well, but the tolerances are very small. I could probably repair the electrical system